guys, I want to talk to you today, a new lesson, 4.3G, and it is relating fractions and decimals on a number line. So we've been talking about fractions and decimals, and now we're going to put it on a number line, and we're going to just put it all together. So I want you to look at this first question. It says, what does a number line show? So I want you to pause the video. If we're in the classroom, I want you to stop, and I want you to think about, what does a number line show? I'll give you just a few minutes to think about it. Okay, I hope you wrote something down. I hope you had something in your thoughts. If you had a chance, if you're at home, share it with your parents, share it with your brother or sister. If you're in the classroom, using social distancing, you can tell your partner, the person at your table, what does a number line show? The next question I want you to think about is there anything in between each number? We've got the number 2 and we've got the number 3. We've got the number 5, we've got the number 7. Is there anything between numbers? So I want you again to pause the video and I want you to think about it. Is there anything between numbers? Okay. I hope that you've been able to share that, what your thoughts about that, with, again, if you're at home, your family, your siblings. If we're in the classroom, then maybe you shared it again with your table mate using social distancing. But that's what our lesson is about today. It is about fractions and decimals on a number line. Okay, let's look at this first slide. It says, how are these number lines related? Well, let's look at the first number line. It goes from 0 to 10. Then when you look at the next number line, it goes from 0 to 100. Now, let's think about that. What's going on here? This one obviously is counting by ones, and it goes all the way to 10. Now notice this one starts with 0, but it ends in 100. But look what it's counting by. It's counting by tens. But I wonder what this arrow going up to this number 10 stands for. Okay, you're at home, stop the video, think about that question. If you're in the classroom, again, put those thoughts in your head, and let's think about how are these number lines related. Okay, well, let's see what they have as the answer. The top number line shows the number that fits in the space between 0 and 10 on the bottom number line. In other words, right down here between 0 and 10, this top number line fits there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 would fit right there. So that's how those number lines are related. Okay, now we've got another number line here. Again, it looks the same. We've got from 0 to 1. Wonder what this number line could be. Oh, what are they doing here? Well, I hope in your head you're thinking about, well, they're counting by tens from 0 to 100. Well, I wonder what this number line is doing. Ooh, what are they counting through here? 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, they're counting by ones also, but notice they started at a different number. So they started at 10 and went to 20. What is different about these number lines? Well, when we look at them, this one is counting by ones, this one is counting by ones, this one appears to be counting by tens, and this one takes up after that one. It goes up after that one.
Okay, if you try to put both number lines together using the same scale, this is what it would look like. Okay, so what we're looking at here is we've got a number line 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. And if you see the numbers in between here, and we're going to do that, we're going to zoom to 300 to reveal this in blue. So I'm going to view, or let me zoom, to 300, and notice you can see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Those numbers, and let me zoom back out. Let me go back to view, zoom back to regular. Those numbers 1 through 10 fit in between 0 to 10. So when I look down here, it is like it would be similar to trying to find your street of a map in California. Or think of our streets here in Texas. When you look at a map, do you see your house? Do you see the actual streets around it? You see the main streets sometimes, depending on what kind of map, but they're very, very small and they're tiny, right? And that's kind of like, so we're thinking about, do number lines have numbers in between them? I bet it looks like they do, don't they? And even numbers in between those. Okay, so now that we know that numbers have, all numbers have numbers in between them on a number line, okay, and I hope we can see this smartboard really good. You're going to look into your notes, okay? You do have these in your notes, and we'll be putting them on Canvas in the notes section. Also, they are in there, but fractions and decimals on a number line. When you are creating a number line, okay, and we're looking at numbers, so today we're going to be learning how to make number lines. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to find our benchmark numbers and circle them. Okay, your teachers probably last year said find your whole numbers and circle them. We call them benchmark numbers because you could be between a tenth and a whole sometimes in 4th grade. So we say benchmark numbers. Look for 2 numbers and you circle them. Then, just like you did in the past, you're going to jump to see how many times that's been divided. Okay? And then we're going to make a number line. So, down in your notes, example, 1/10 and 2/10. Since the numbers are between tenths, okay, now you're used to using whole numbers. Since the numbers are between tenths, the number line, when I'm looking at place value, if I have something into 10 parts, and a tenth of something, and I want to divide that into tenths, so I want to pull this in front of you. This is the whole. If I put it into 10 parts, remember this is a tenth. If I divide this tenth, this is a tenth, into 10 parts, I'm going to get this little thing. You remember we called it a hundredth. A hundredth. And remember where the hundredth sits in our decimal place value. It's 2 places after the decimal. So, we are going to, this number line is going to be in hundredths. But an easy way to do that, to show you that, is you would add zeros at the end of here. Then you could count in between here. So this line would be 11 hundredths, 12 hundredths, 13 hundredths, 14 hundredths, 15 hundredths, and we could keep on counting. So pause the video, kind of work through this a little bit. I'm not asking you to write every single one of them, but maybe add your zeros there, look at those numbers, and take time. Okay. Now we're going to move on. I want to make sure that was everything on this page. Okay. Now you're going to get a worksheet. And your worksheet is going to look like this. And we're going to put the fractions and the decimals on there. So here's where the steps come in play. The first step was to circle your benchmark numbers. So when you look up here, I only see 2 numbers, so they must be my benchmark numbers. And out to the side, you might put step 1. Circle benchmark numbers. Step 2, who can remember what we do next? You got it. We're going to hop or jump. We're going to jump because that jump is important. It's going to tell us how many times this whole has been divided. Now I'm looking, and these are whole numbers, so I'm dividing up a whole. This is like one whole, so I'm dividing up a whole. If I was dividing up a tenth, I would get hundredths. Okay, but I'm dividing one whole. So I'm going to go, and I'm going to do my jumps. And I know in 3rd grade, you were taught to count your jumps in between here. Just count them. So I know that there are 10 jumps. Okay? And then we're going to label that number line. My denominator then is 10, and so this is one piece out of 10 because this is divided 10 times. 2 pieces out of 10, noticing 3 pieces out of 10, 4 tenths, 5 tenths. Pause the video and finish the rest of the number line. Okay, when you come back, you can fast forward just a little bit. You should have all your fractions. Now, what I like is when I see 10 tenths, I want you to kind of draw a little bitty one around it. Anytime we say the same number on top and on the bottom, that's a whole. So that's 10 tenths. Now we have this as a fraction. We're going to turn around and we're going to write them as decimals. Now remember, you have to use place value with decimals. So this is the 10. Remember we talked about this when we were in class, we talked about tenth. The number 10 is not a number down here, it's a name. It's tenth. We don't go 7, 8, 9, tenth. We say 10. But we're saying 1/10. So that's telling me place value. The 1 sits in the tenths place. And if you remember, our tenths place is one place after that decimal. 2 tenths, 3 tenths, 4 tenths. Go ahead and finish your number line here. 6 tenths, 7 tenths. Oh, and 10 tenths is just one whole. Or it could even look like 1.0 if we wanted it to. It's just kind of coming over, kind of like when you add and you're carrying over a number. Okay. Oh goodness. Now look what we're between. Okay, pause the video and get this finished, and then come back and we'll look at this next one. Okay, on number 2, welcome back. On number 2, we are between 1 and 2 on the number line. And so we circled our benchmark numbers. Now we're going to, you got it, jump. Count your hops. And that's going to tell me my denominator here, because I'm dealing with, if I've got, now what I'm dealing with is I'm between 1 but not quite 2. So I have a whole. Let me pull up some. I have a whole, and then on this side, ooh, of course, anyways, there's one. Here I go. I have 1 but not quite 2. So now we're going to have to see, how am I going to get to 2 wholes? But I already have 1, but I'm trying to get to 2. So here's the thing. When I have a whole number and I'm looking at it like, do we want mixed numbers here? Yes. When I'm looking at it like a fractions, we have 1 whole. That doesn't go away. No matter what, I still started with that 1. But now we divided the second one into 10 parts. So now I'm going to add this. This is 1 and 1/10. So this next one is 1 and 1/10. Look how that's written as a fraction. 1 and, I still have 1 and 1/10. Now I'm going to have 1 and 2/10. And then I'm going to add another tenth, which is 1 and, oops, I wrote it as a decimal, not as a fraction, I'm sorry. And that, remember, you say the whole number, and then we write the fraction, 2/10, 1 and 3/10. Now notice my whole number is as large as my fraction is. 1 and 4/10, 1 and 5/10, 1 and 6/10, 1 and 7/10, 1 and 8/10, 1 and 9/10, and 1 and 10/10, which is really 2. Because 1 plus 1 would be really 2. Okay, now we really worked on this a little bit with money too. When we were dealing with our money and we were taking fractions and decimals to fractions. But when we're doing money, if we can say it, we should be able to write it. One whole, we know in the place value chart, whole numbers sit to the left, decimals to the right. So it's going to be one whole, because this is my whole number, this is my fraction, and my decimal would separate. So this would be 1 and 1/10. Remember the 1, this isn't a number, it tells me it sits in the tenths place, just like we did it up here, but now we're adding that whole to it. 1 and 2/10, 1 and 3/10. Oops, I want to see my decimal. 1 and 4/10. Go ahead and get yours labeled and pause this video until you get it labeled. Then you'll notice that you have a few more problems. I want you to work to get those finished, and you know, if you have to ask or come back and repeat and rewind this video to watch again, think about it. Look at what you're in between. If you're in between 2 and 3, you're going to start out with 2 and 1/10. If you're in between 3 and 4, you're going to still carry that 3 on. Okay, and so finish this off, and I'll be looking forward to seeing your work.